our Fireside Chat this fine February. Our Fireside Chats are always the third Thursday of the month, 5:30 to 7. Fabulous different speakers in the industry and all kinds of exciting information that we get to. So tonight we have Dr. Sordean for our brain health talk. Thanks for coming, and we're going to learn more about maximizing your brain health. We know that you, or people you know, have the desire to make the next years the best years of your life. That's exactly the goal of our speaker, Dr. Sordean. Dr. J has more than 40 years clinical experience in natural medicine, helping people achieve maximal wellness so they can achieve their goals and purpose in life. Over the course of his career, he has worked with thousands of patients from infants to men and women in their 90s and older. Dr. J is the author of 2 best-selling books on dementia and enhancing brain health. He's been invited as a medical expert on over 20 TV news talk shows around the country to help people avoid the mistakes that can lead to Alzheimer's and head injuries. I've seen some of those TV shows online. You can see those segments on YouTube by going to the website, theredwoodclinic.com/mediakit. Dr. J has 2 wonderful daughters who he's crazy about. That's handy. You're supposed to like your children. In addition to other talents, they're both bilingual in English and Hebrew. Dr. J is also bilingual, being fluent in Japanese. Dr. J lived in Japan for 3 years and translated professionally for 8 years. 5 of those for the National Cancer Institute in Philadelphia. It was in Philadelphia that he was nicknamed Dr. J. Yeah. Today, Dr. J will guide us through some of the steps he uses to improve people's brain health. He takes people through a scientifically based and thorough evaluation process first. Then he gives a rational, individualized plan with action steps to balance and tone the brain. He calls his 7-step program the Brain, B-R-A-I-N, Health, H-E-A-L-T-H process. He designed it with you in mind so that you can maximize your brain and heart health for a better life. Without further ado, Dr.
Can all of you see me?
Yes.
Okay, great. And can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes. All right, great. Can everyone smell me?
No.
Yay. Good. And I want you to take your hand, I want you to rub on your arm, on your forearm. We're going to do that. Can everyone feel that? You feel your hand or on your hand? Great. Well, what is it that enables, do you like that? Do you like the feeling? You like being able to see and hear and all that? Well, what is it that allows us to do that? The brain, exactly. The brain enables us to do all these different things. Now, obviously, this isn't disconnected from the rest of the body. And so there's a lot of other processes that have to feed the brain and take care of the brain, such as the heart. Very important. Setting the tone of the heart actually influences the brain and its executive functions, too. They've discovered that. So the heart and head connection is very important. And how valuable would you say your brain is? Anyone have a number? Priceless, definitely. Well, in my books, on the front of the cover of one of my books, got a picture of the brain, and I had people design this so that it would actually be gold, because it's to express the fact how valuable our brain is. I mean, you know, it's more than worth its weight in gold. It's probably worth its weight in diamonds or even more. And so it's very important. One of the reasons why I wear this gold tie is to remind myself of how valuable our brain is, and also to remind myself of the great value and the things that my parents taught me that enable me to be here standing up in front of you and trying to share some things that I've learned over the years. So that's why I wear my gold tie. And so I'm going to use these notes a little bit just to keep on track. So a very wise person once said, there are 3 things that no one can take from you. One is your education. Another one is your memories. And the third is your experiences. Does that make a lot of sense? Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is, though, is if your memory fails you, you don't have access to your education very well. And your experiences you may not remember. So our memory is really a key thing to take care of and value. Now, my mission is to prevent 1 million cases of Alzheimer's. Not to put this incredible facility out of business. None of us really want to end up with Alzheimer's. But any agreement there?
Yes.
I think everyone's going to agree. There's other things maybe we would prefer to develop. So, because of that mission, is the reason why I wrote these 2 best-selling books. Now, again, my name is Dr. Sordean. I've been in the natural medicine field for over 40 years, and I've been in practice and licensed in California for more than 30 years. And so today I want to share a taste of some of the transformation that I bring to patients in a way that are outlined in these books. The Outsmarting the Dementia Epidemic. And I have to look at the title because it's so long, I can't always remember exactly what it says. But 7 key memory care actions to avoid Alzheimer's and successfully keep your brain safe, sharp, and sexy.
Wow.
You like the title? Would you like the brain to stay safe, sharp, and sexy? Well, the brain is, when it comes to sex, sometimes different people have different opinions, and for most women, they will say that it's up here. You have to stimulate the brain and the emotions in order for it to work right. The guys, we think it's farther down. But that's why I put it on this cover, also to try to sell more books. Sex is supposed to sell. So I promise that later on I'll tell you about the 7-step program I've created. And it's designed to give you more energy, to have your brain more quick and more sensitive, and we call it the Brain Health Program. But because I want to respect your time, we only have about an hour, 45 minutes or so, I'm just going to share part of that process. Now, why is it I'm so passionate about the brain? Well, when I was 13, at my house in Indiana, I was walking through the bathroom, and it was like we had 2 doors, and you could go through. We had 2 bathrooms, but this was the bathroom off the kitchen. And walking through, and I'm walking by, and my father started coughing, and he coughed up blood into the sink. It was like, I'm thinking, oh my God, he had lung cancer, and so he discovered lung cancer. And over the next 5 years, this was like in this is 78, well, let's see, 81 I graduated, so it's 76 that I went into 1971 I went to high school, so it was like 5 years before that. Anyway, that was back in the 60s, and treatments for cancer were not what they are today. And so there wasn't anything I didn't know what to do, and he had radiation therapy, and after 5 years it spread to other parts of his body, and so he had metastatic cancer in the brain. And he was a really patient and mild-mannered person, and that change in his brain radically changed his personality. He became aggressive, and he'd get really tough, and so it was one of the times I really learned something about the brain and how the brain influences our perceptions, our behavior, etc. And so from that time, he died a week before I graduated from high school, and so the best I could do was just to try to meet the man of family. And then I went off to Japan a year later, and so But at any rate, so that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about learning about the brain and what it's about, and how to work with the brain. So I have a couple questions. Are you tired of not having the pep that you want or need, but don't know what to do without it? Is that possible? Or are you concerned that your memory is not as good as it used to be, and your doctor just says it's a normal part of aging? Perhaps you need some concrete steps to take because you have a parent who has dementia or Alzheimer's, and you don't want to go down the same path. Anyone have that? Yeah. So I hope that our time together will help help those of you who are tired and not as energetic as you think you should be, or you're perhaps struggling with gradual memory loss. Perhaps you have that fear that you're going to be as debilitated as your parent. and you don't want to have to deal with that whole battle that's going on. You'd rather just be alert and full of energy. Maybe you also have some distraction at work, at home. You can't stay as focused as you would like to be. Or you'd like to optimize your brain to overcome fatigue and sleep problems. So that's what we're going to talk about a bit tonight. Is that okay? So my methods today will help you feel alert and awake and brimming with energy. More engaged with people at work and at home and school. Because one of the things with dementia and Alzheimer's, one of the first signs is that people start forgetting even like the name of their pet. The interactions, human interactions start to drop off. So if we want to stay engaged with other people, we have to keep our brain active. And then also, they will help you create more deeply and supportive relationships. And how many people are like introverts? I'm a little bit around, yeah. So, you know, for introverts, relationships sometimes take a lower priority, but it's really important to like push yourself a little bit to get that interaction, because that keeps our brain more alert. It uses all these different parts of the brain that we need to stimulate. So tonight we're going to have a little bit of interaction also. It's not just going to be me gabbing at you. So let's talk a little bit about what I call brain health. All right, so let's look at health first. So these are obviously supposed to be very clever acronyms. So H. So H stands for a history taking that allows you to tell your whole life story. This is part of my process. E is an evaluation of your situation with various surveys, so both you and I get to know you better and what's going on. What's the next letter? A. Very good. You're all sharp. So A is analysis of the neurological examination results, so we don't forget to overturn any stone that might need polish. So it needs to be very thorough. And in the process of writing these books, I interviewed like 35 or 40 people. Anne was one. She's very well. Dr. Fong, also here, a colleague of mine. He was the first person I interviewed. And I have a podcast now that I started in October. It's called Natural Solutions with Dr. J. And you can go online at iTunes. iTunes. You can go to YouTube and iTunes. Anyway, and you can subscribe to it. Dr. Fong's was the very first one. And Anne's was about number 7 or 8, I believe, and so it is out there. And then we also did an interview with Marcia and Anne together, and those it's a 2-part thing. One is about 15 minutes, and that just like came out 2 hours ago. And then the second part is going to come out on the 22nd. So you can go online, you can go to your computer and listen to them off the computer, or you can do it off your cell phone or any other thing. So that is analysis, and L is laboratory testing of various factors that we know lead to brain degeneration. And so this testing gives you more information about yourself and the factors that you can control actually in your life that may lead to brain degeneration. So there are things like heavy metal toxicity that definitely influence the brain. There are things like food sensitivities and allergies that over time can cause an inflammation in the system, and our gut actually has 70% of our immune system. 70%. So if it's reacting all the time, it sends messages that also cause a degeneration of the brain. So it's very important to find out like what you might be sensitive to food-wise and otherwise. So that is L for laboratory testing. What's the next letter? T. Very good. T is a treatment plan that's individualized so that you know what we'll do together and why. And then the last one? H. The second H. I have a little H2 on here, so I keep them in order. All right, and H, I'm just letting you in on the secret.
Behind the scenes.
And so H stands for healthy habits and changes, using such things as food and diet, exercise, meditation. Hypnotherapy also very powerful. Acupuncture and RCT, which is neurologic relief center technique, opening up the meninges, supplements and other natural means. So it's actually giving you actions you can take, and so you can feel more vital, less fatigued, and more able to authentically engage in life with your family, children, grandchildren, friends, etc. So that's what the H part of brain health stands for. Now, as you may know, 1 in 3 Americans dies with dementia, and 50 million have Alzheimer's, which cuts their lives short and severs their connections with friends and family. The quality of their lives and bank accounts shrink in proportion to their brain degeneration. The more care you need, the more expensive. I mean, this is an incredible facility, and the care that people receive here at the most advanced stages is just like priceless. But it is expensive. So doctors are actually coming to the table kind of late in actually dealing with this, because there is so much advanced knowledge about how we can help to prevent our brains from degenerating and how to protect and nurture them. So now what I'd like to do is we're going to have Dr. Fong hand out. Now, does anyone have any questions at this point?
Not yet.
Okay. So I also have a bunch of yellow sheets of paper here that you can write your questions on. And so we also have pens, and we're going to hand out a survey. We're all going to do a survey.
Homework, Dr. J?
Homework. This is to keep everyone alert. This is
like
actually
the park work.
We didn't bank on
brain
that.
therapy session tonight. It's by activating your brain and having you remember things. So we're going to, each person gets one of these. We do have pens. I think Dr. Fong has a pen. I don't know, does anyone need something to write on? I want each of you to fill these out completely. Thank you. Someone could use this if they want to write on it. I've got some. Anyone else need something? Makes it a little stiff. You could use some of my AGA-LPH things. Let's give you a couple. Anyone else? So what we're going to do, these particular surveys, these are 2 surveys.
Green.
And one of the surveys is a survey that's on page 94 of Superbrain. Now, both of the books have a number of surveys in them that are particularly focused on factors that will cause your brain to break down.
Thank you.
So the first survey is on page 94 of Superbrain, and the second survey is on page 33 of Outsmarting for Dementia. Each of these books has a lot of surveys, and we don't have time to go through all of them. So this is just an opportunity to do one survey out of each one. Now, at the end, we're going to have a drawing for some prizes. And so if you want to win a prize, you have to complete your survey completely. All right? And also, at the end, I'm going to talk a little bit about my brain health program and what we do with that. And this is the prerequisite survey that I need to have a one-to-one consultation with you. I'm going to offer you a special free consultation. But this is step number 1 to qualify for that. So please fill it out completely so I can communicate with you. If you don't want to be communicated with, then just don't fill it out. So, as we're going through this survey, everyone have one?
Mm-hmm.
Great. So, there's one under the Superbrain, okay? So, both of them are similar in that you're going to enter an appropriate number. Either 0, 1, 2, or 3, with 0 as the least or never, and 3 as the most or always. So, for example, crave sweets during the day. That is more like a never and an always kind of choice, right? Like I never crave sweets, or I do, now so maybe it's a 1 or 2,
Yeah.
or like I always want sweets, and that would be a 3. But that's always. Okay, and then there may be like, some of these should fit in like this. Fatigue coffee after eating sweets, must have sweets after
You need
meals.
to drink. Drink cake for the
Yeah.
last one.
Urination, increased thirst and appetite, difficulty losing weight. I don't know if any of these are least than most. Most of them look like they're never to all of them, but anyway, fill those out. Blurred vision.
Ooh.
I copied these so they'd be a little blurry, so you know maybe you'll think you have blurred vision.
Ensuring future patients, right?
Make people think they have a problem. You know. Just joking. All right, so then, how? Anyone finish? Okay. Anyone else? When you're finished, please raise your hand. This is like first grade. Very good. Okay, that's great. That's very good. Loving the idea.
I don't know the last one. I don't know.
Which one?
Least current thing.
Yes. No. So the
Is your waist
next
bigger
step
than
is
your
once
hips?
you've done it, there's 2 different surveys. So add up the total of all the points on the first survey and enter those at total. That is at the top of the right-hand side. So you know this is one survey that goes down at the left side and then at the top of the right. That one you total up.
Let's see it.
And then over here.
And then the other one is
Is your waist
shorter.
bigger than your hips?
And that's just
Yes.
straight down on the right-hand side. And then you put your totals in. Okay.
Yes. Put down over there. Yes.
So put it on.
It's a 3-hand. It's either sometimes or.
Again, in my brain health process and program, I have a series of different surveys that actually give information about different systems in our body and gives information about different parts of the brain, so that we can start to focus down and say, well, is there a brain issue going on, and where in the brain is that? And then we do further neurological testing to actually see what components are going on, whether it's the cerebellum, temporal lobes, etc. But this is just like a little hint of overview of a couple of the different ones, and I'll explain what they are. So has everyone added everything up?
Mm-hmm.
Yes? Yes?
Both of them or just one?
Add up the survey, the first survey, put a total at the top of the right-hand side. And then at the bottom of the right-hand side, there's, I don't know, there's maybe 8 or 9 that you fill in, and that's the total for that one.
Oh, wait.
So there's 2 different ones, so you're going to have 2 different totals. All right. So now, in the first survey, how many people have 5 or less? Raise your hand. Total 5 or less. Okay. How many have 8 or more? Raise your hands. So in the first part, 8 points or higher is the total that tells you you need to start addressing this. That there is something that's going on functionally that's not right. And this one is related to blood sugar. So if there's blood sugar issues, that is going to influence the brain. How many people know somebody with advanced diabetes? My uncle, who was a surgeon in Indiana, very well known in Indianapolis, and when I was 18, after my father died, when I was 18 that summer, I worked with him and did 52 surgeries together with him. Wow. It was amazing. And back then, we aren't just like using scopes. It's not this tiny little thing. This is,
Right, exactly.
You know, no, it's really big cuts. I had to leave the first couple times.
I bet.
I got faint.
I bet.
I almost fainted in the surgical suite. But after that, I kind of got used to it. I tried to dissociate myself from, you know, what the person might be feeling. But they weren't feeling anything. Anesthesiologists, anyone know one? Yeah. And so what is their job?
To knock you out.
Knock you out. To keep you on the edge
Yeah.
of death.
To knock you out
It
properly.
is keeping you on the edge of death. Because when you're dead, you don't feel, yeah, really. Yeah. I've talked to many and I say, well, you know, what is it? Essentially, we keep people almost dead.
That way they're called Dr. Death.
Dr.
Dr. Almost Dead.
Dr. Jack Kevorkian. Anyway, so I worked with him, but he developed diabetes. And in his later years, he was in a nursing home. He had one leg chopped off, then he had another one chopped off, and he had bed sores. Half the time you go in there, he was in. When you have too much sugar, your brain doesn't work. You aren't awake. You're like in a diabetic coma and stuff. And so there's a very direct relationship between blood sugar and your brain function. Okay? So if yours is 8 or higher, then that means you need to get checked out. Right? Now, in the second one, how many people had 4 or less? Raise your hands.
4 less.
4 or less. Okay. And how many people had 6 or more? Raise your hands. So 6 or more means that's more crucial. Okay. And this one is more specific about brain function, whether you're remembering well or not. And again, this is just a brief overview survey, but we can get into more detail in individual. Now, as I mentioned before, each of these books has a bunch of surveys that are associated with particular chapters on different things that are a key issue, like blood sugar, like toxic metal in your body. And so, I'll give you a chance later on to get these.
When did your first book come out? The other one's brand new, right, Dr. J?
Okay, so actually both of them came out about 2 days apart.
Oh.
When I first, so initially these came out on Amazon on Kindle. And if you know anything about Kindle, you can actually pre-publish. You can start selling the book before you've actually finished it. And you get like 90 days or something to get it done. And so after I had both these finished in Kindle, then I got them in the hardcover. This isn't like hardcover, but it's hard copy. It's not electronic.
No, I'm not the entertainer.
You could also get these electronic.
You could be.
We have you on
They're
video.
cheap. I like it. So
Incognito.
now, this is the brain health program. So what does brain part stand for? So what we're going to do, I'm going to do another little video here. And this video segment is a segment that I did in Chicago on Fox TV. Chicago is the number 3 TV market in the country. This was on Thanksgiving morning. Now, actually, it wasn't live Thanksgiving morning. It was taped about a month earlier. And that's a long story. It's kind of a funny story, but anyway, I appeared on Fox on Thanksgiving morning, 2014. So there are various. In this segment, I have 3 mistakes you want to avoid to prevent getting Alzheimer's. All right. And the first one I call the John Belushi. The second one I call the Prince Charles. And the third I call
Sounds
the
like
Stooges.
cocktails.
All right. So I have some little things, little posters. So we're going to have people form up posters at the appropriate time. Okay.
No.
All right. So who wants to be John
I'm
Belushi?
drinking dinner tonight.
John Belushi. You have to roll the others backwards. All right. And Prince Charles. Okay, I'm just going to start handing these out. Okay, 3 Stooges. And then I also had some graphics made. My girlfriend's an artist. And so here, there's 3 Stooges one.
Looks like Cherry's family.
Okay. And you can be Prince Charles. All right. So when we're doing this, you're going to watch, but you need to hold up your placard backward.
Like this?
Yeah, like that, so people can see it, so the camera can see it.
Oh.
All right, not yet. Not yet. Not yet.
You're
And
part
then
of the
after you do the Prince Charles, the 3 Stooges, and the John Belushi part, then I talk about the brain, what the brain acronym stands for. Okay. So here we go. And let me turn this on. It should be here. Works.
Yes, please. Seriously.
I will start it over.
No old time.
That's why. I don't have it in the output, I have it in the input.
I hate it when that
I'm
happens.
very brilliant. Anyone know about speakers? There's a little kind of portable speaker called Hognose. Ever seen these Hognose speakers? The handle's Hognose. Okay. Let's go back. Let's see.
Just need to pump up the volume.
Yeah.
No.
That's not any good. Preamp. Understand. I don't know why it's not working. Okay, well you just watch. You pretend like you can hear.
You were there, you could tell.
That's right.
Ronald Reagan, Margaret Thatcher, and Nelson Mandela all died of Alzheimer's. Okay, now, Dr. J, you have a list of things that you should, mistakes you should avoid to prevent Alzheimer's. That's very true. First, I called it John Belushi.
Hold it up, hold it up.
And that has to do with obesity. The more fat you have in your body, the smaller your brain becomes. Kaiser Family Research Foundation discovered that, and it's a fact. Okay, and he said, oh, I didn't know that. All right, the next we call the Prince Charles, because Prince Charles on the Late Late Show, very good. Prince Charles had really bad teeth, and so if you have inflammation and bacterial infection in your teeth, it will eventually go up in the sinuses, cause problems there, and then it can go in the brain and cause leaky brain syndrome. This actually causes damage to your brain.
You mean the Prince Charles now? No.
Yeah. On Craig Ferguson, he made fun of his teeth all the time.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Well, you know,
So-
he's English. They all
and
have
so
bad
the
teeth.
third one-
Yeah,
Yeah, and so good dental hygiene, very important for your brain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wouldn't it be the case that's causing the problem, not necessarily the shape of the teeth?
It doesn't have to do with the teeth, but it has to do with the cake. But I just use it because he's a celebrity. You talk about celebrities on TV. I'm giving you all these hints about what to do when you're on TV. Okay. And then the third was the Three Stooges, and the Three Stooges. Right. Three Stooges used to hit themselves in the head with all these weird things. Cumulative traumas can damage the brain, and so don't treat them trivially. You get hit, you need to actually approach it. Now, the brain formula. First one, B, stands for blood circulation. It's important to have proper blood circulating in the brain. There's various ways we do that. R, removing toxins. Very important to get toxins out of your body because they will degenerate the nerves and the brain. There's various ways to do that. A stands for avoid sugar. High amounts of sugar actually throw off the blood circulation and metabolism, and you can actually get crusty brain syndrome. It's called crusty brain syndrome because the cells in the brain get lots of accumulated like crusty hemoglobin and other things in the brain, and it's damaging to the brain. It's pro-inflammatory. It names the last one. N stands for names. Try to remember people's names when you first meet them. Practice that. Because remembering names uses all parts of the brain.
Your doctor who?
Exactly. Dr. J. And you're John? No. John.
John, yes.
Was it John?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're Larry. And you're Stella. Whose hand? Your hand.
You never knew my name.
Scarf.
Gail.
She has on a scarf. Scarf.
Sure. Okay. All right, so that was the end of that video. So that's what the brain acronym stands for. Now, one example of a toxin that is everywhere. Anyone heard of glyphosate?
Roundup.
It's Roundup. Exactly. And Roundup in and of itself is not good for you. And this chart was done by I think it wasn't National Geographic, but it was the National Survey or something, Geographic Survey of the U.S. And they looked at groundwater, lakes, ponds, wetlands, soils, water, streams, water, river, precipitation, ditches, drains, soil, and sediment for the amount of frequency and percentage of how often they found glyphosate and AMPA. And you can see AMPA is the green one, and there's much larger amounts of that. That's actually the breakdown product from glyphosate. And it is super toxic for your body. So
where are we finding it? Is this like in people's yards? So we're just breathing it in?
It's just because Roundup's been used so much, and it doesn't break
Kills
down well.
weeds.
It breaks down into even more toxic product.
Lil
And
uses that all
so
the time.
this is an example of why you need to,
So why is it
with the
still
R
on
in brain, R is remove toxins. It's very important to find out what's in your body and then support your liver, your kidneys, large intestine, sweat glands, etc. on removing that from the body.
Yeah, but why is Roundup still on the market?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Well,
Well, it's banned in Europe, right?
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Because the big
Monsanto.
chemical companies.
That's the
think-
answer.
Yeah, Monsanto.
Because of Dow and Monsanto, right?
Right. They make Roundup, and they have a lot of power.
That's crazy.
I assume.
Make GMOs too.
Okay. So that is brain. Now, another important thing that helps keep the brain alive, and it's also one of the things that works all parts of the brain, and as we're developing from a baby, so when we're born, right, are we running around?
Not yet.
No. We have, over time, we start to move more as our nervous system develops. So we're able to move more, but we also have to move. If we don't move, our brain does not develop properly. And so it's still the same thing. Now, I know here at Lakeside Park, there's all kinds of activities that they do to keep people awake and alive and stimulating their brain. So we're going to do a little exercise. It's called Ritsu Zen. Is that okay? All right. So Ritsu Zen is, Ritsu is, like I lived in Japan for 3 years. I used to translate Japanese cancer research for National Cancer Institute in Philadelphia. That's why I was in Philadelphia when I got named Dr. J. So it's very important to do exercises to keep your brain going. So we're all going to stand up, and I'm going to do a little bit of Ritsu Zen. So Ritsu stands for stand. It's actually a character for standing in Japanese. And Zen, anyone heard of Zen Buddhism? Yes. So that's the Zen that is in that combination. Ritsu Zen means standing, Zen meditation. Now, you're going to need a little extra space because your arms are going to swing a little. So just find a spot where you aren't going to knock food off and you aren't going to hit your hands. But so we start out, I'm not going to take my shoes off, but I love doing it with my shoes off. It feels the best that way because there's a better connection between your body and the ground and the electromagnetic fields in the earth. But so you start out with your feet parallel on the inside and about shoulder width apart. Okay? And so we want to bend our knees a little bit. And we want to keep our torso straight. All right? And so our arms are hanging. We're just going to like turn a little to the right and turn a little to the left. And you're just going to continue doing that. And your arms, if they're relaxed, they're going to start like a pendulum just sort of slapping against your body. So as you turn, the arm that goes to the back side, the palm is going to turn backwards, and so your hand is going to touch your butt with the top side of your hand, and when you're turning across the front, your hand is going to hit on the palm side, the front of your body. Great. Now, we're going to do a little advanced Ritsu Zen right now. So, what we're going to do, you're going to focus on both feet. I just want you to put your attention and feel what your feet are feeling like right now. You're going to just continue, and it doesn't have to be the same pace I'm doing it. It can be faster, it can be slower, but just feel your feet. I want you to just put all your attention down on your feet. Okay, and once you can do that in a good steady way, I want you to then move up to your knees. I want you to feel what your knees are doing. As you're bending, you're going one direction, the other direction. Likely one is straightening a little as the other is bending more. Maybe it hurts a little bit. Okay, once you've got your feet from your knees, you felt those, now go to your hips. I want you to feel what's going on with your hips. Now, hip is a little more complex joint. And for example, my left hip is not like this at the moment. My right hip says, so what? It's no big deal. You know, it's like when you feel nothing in your body, that's when your body's healthy. When you start feeling stuff, that means that the function isn't quite where it needs to be. All right. So we focused a little bit on our lower extremities. So you can go through your entire body and just put your attention in the shoulders. You can put it in your hands. There's a lot of different places you can put it. And you can also either do this with your eyes open or with your eyes closed. Doesn't matter. And as you're doing it, maybe you're going to feel like when you turn in one direction, you sort of lean over on that foot, and then you shift your weight and go back over the other side. But this is a fantastic, fantastic exercise and sort of a meditation. You can get into like a zone. And this is something I recommend everyone use as their backup exercise. It doesn't take much space, right? You can do it about anywhere. Now, I have done this, I've done Tai Chi since right after I worked with my uncle in surgery, I went to Oakland College and people were doing Tai Chi in the gallery, and so I started learning it. This is in Indiana in 1971. Go figure.
Yeah, really.
But so I continued doing that, and then when I was in Japan, I took classes, and that's where I learned this Ritsu Zen, was in classes in Japan, in Tokyo. And this is such a great exercise because you're crossing across the midline, for one thing. So you're having to exercise both sides of your brain. And you're using your cerebellum, which has to coordinate all these movements. And the cerebellum also coordinates thoughts. People thought it was just more movement, but it actually coordinates the different thoughts in the two sides of your brain. So this helps with that too. And so one time I was doing this in Indiana in front of my mom's apartment. I was doing Tai Chi, and I had much longer hair and everything back then. So then there's this policeman who came over. He was very, very polite. He just sort of stayed back a little distance until I finished. And I stopped, you know. And you can all start to just slow down a little bit so that your arms are not going quite as far. You just slow down very gently. But so the police guy came over, you know, after I finished. He said, "Hi, how you doing? What are you doing?" I said, I explained what it was. He said, "Yeah, I figured that's what it was, something like that. But there was a woman in the apartment building who thought there was a crazy man out there. So she was really scared, so she called one of the neighbors." But so you can do this anywhere in the world, any place. Just expect potential weird looks, or the police might. And that actually happened to me in Kathmandu also. I was doing Tai Chi in Kathmandu. This was maybe 1977. And I did it, but the police said, "No, leave," because there was this crowd of people gathering around and watching. So, anyway, it's a great name. Ritsu Zen is wonderful. And go ahead and say it.
How do you spell that?
Ritsu, R-I-T-S-U.
Ritsu, okay.
Ritsu
Zen.
So T-S-U. Ritsu Zen, Z-E-N. Now, I did another lecture sort of similar to this at Chapel of the Chimes for Meetup Group in October. And I videotaped it. And so if people want to see the version of me doing it there, you can do it there. So I have the videotape, you can go online and look at it. Or I also have a webinar that I set up that has a longer version of this in it too. So I have a resource sheet here that I'll pass out to people later, and it shows the links where you can go and you can watch it and see it in more detail and refresh your memory. Okay, so now we're going to have people pass in their surveys. Now at the top, because you're such a great group, you all came out tonight, endured my bad jokes and my other things, then I want to offer you a little gift. And essentially what it is, because I have a passion for supporting people in the community, there's a special little thing. So it's an opportunity for a private one-on-one review of your survey. But the survey is just step number one to qualify. There's a couple more surveys that you have to fill out online. And, but it's not going to cost you anything to do. Okay. And once you fill those out, then you have to, I will know that you filled out, but you have to call my office. And at the top of your survey, I want you to write down that you're interested in the consultation. It doesn't mean that you're going to end up doing it, but just write somewhere at the top that, just write consultation on the top. Because it's free. It's a great thing. Anyone here like free stuff?
Hate it.
If you don't, I will charge you $1,000 for it. How's that?
Perfect.
If that would make you come in, then we'll do it that way too. All right? So, but anyway, so we're going to go over this survey plus some other surveys that are online. Everyone have access to the internet?
Some days.
Yeah. If you don't, I could mail you the thing. I don't want it to be an impediment. So, no, there's 3. Yeah, okay, so the catch is that you have to qualify, meaning you have to fill out all these things. All right? And when we contact you, you're going to have to get back to me in 3 days so that I can book it. All right? All the sessions are scheduled on a first come, first served basis, so it's in your interest to schedule as soon as you can. Now, also, we're going to have a drawing. So if you turn your surveys in, and Dr. Connor's collecting the surveys, we're going to have a drawing for some prizes. Anyone like prizes? They're kind of nice. They like flappy prizes. I would do that to you. So tonight also,
Could we turn in your survey?
we've got the free one-to-one consultation. And then I also have my books for sale. And so usually the two of them in combination would be $37. Now, the brain health program, because there's all kinds of lab testing and other things that's involved in the really comprehensive one, that costs some money. But if you buy both the books together, and we'll only charge you $30 tonight, or if you don't have the $30, you can call my office. But $30 for the two, usually it's $37. Then you get like about $280 off for the process. So it's, you know, it's worth it. And even if you don't decide to do the program, and you don't decide to do the one-to-one, you'll learn a lot from this. I go into details about the brain, how the brain develops, etc. And how many people's brains are listening right now? Everyone should have their hand.
Larry.
It's your brain that's doing this right now. Our brains are like interacting. So that's the offer we have. If you, anyone have any questions?
I just want to say that Dr. J's office is conveniently located right across the street from Whole Foods in Berkeley. So you go get your wonderful food at Whole Foods and go right across the street and see Dr.
You go
J.
see Dr. J and then
then
you
you
go to
go.
Whole
Yeah, go to
Foods.
my office
Yeah.
first and
Yeah.
spend
Then he
money
tells
there
you
and
what to
just, like,
buy.
buy a trinket over there.
Yeah.
Whole paycheck.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you know, what's the other one? Let's see, it's called Grocery Outlet.
Yeah.
I was at this party with a bunch of chiropractors and other people last year, 2 years ago. And they're all talking, they brought all these snacks, these kind of like weird snacks and stuff and wine. And they're all saying, yeah, I got this at Gross Out. And there was like a district manager at a Chamber of Commerce meeting that I had at, and he said, oh yeah, I work for Grocery Outlet. Oh, you work at Gross Out? And they looked at me and said, you know people call it that. And they
That's
said,
funny.
yeah, they have a special way of choosing their wine too. They go in, they get a bottle, and they go out and drink it in the car to see if it's any good. And if it is, they'll go in and buy a case. So there's all these people taste testing out in the parking lot of wine. You learn a lot of these parties. So anyway, questions?
Just a comment, I do find it interesting that because so much research is talking about sugar and toxins and the things that it does to your body and to your brain. Even Weight Watchers is now going that way where they're eliminating sugar and you're counting sugar rather than, so all of the
Oh, that's
studies
good.
are going toward that.
Yeah, white sugar really is it's a shock for the system. You know, if you've got nothing else, then yeah, use it because the brain needs sugar. You know, breaks carbs down into simple sugars, and that's what glucose is. And that's fuel for the mitochondria and energy and ATP, etc. in our brain. But actually putting it in that form versus in a complex carbohydrate or something is just, it's too much of a shock.
Mm-hmm.
It's like mainline sugar. So I guess that's it. Oh, we haven't drawn prizes. Okay, so
The
let's
best
see, there's
part,
2, 3, 4,
prizes.
5 people. There's only 5 people left. Well, we each get one.
Yeah, in Larry's math, we each get
Everyone
one.
gets a prize. But draw 2 of the surveys. Pull 2 of the surveys out, so they get the extra good prize.
Oh.
So, because I have 7 prizes total, and draw, and we will give away 1 of each book too.
Oh.
And so that would be a savings for you. So one of these prizes, this is a pen.
What is it?
When I was in Japan the first time, you know how everyone learning English, there's certain ways that you can learn English if it's your foreign language. And in Japan, it was like, this is a pen. Quote, this is a pen was like what they learned first. So I walk along the bus, you know, there are people, this is a pen, this is like the weirdest thing. They don't say, hello, how are you? It's like, this is a pen. It's just non sequitur. It's not. Anyway, this pen has a light at the end of it. So you click on it, it's got a little light.
That's powerful. Check your eyeballs.
It's substantial, it's a nice pen. Okay.
From Japan?
Probably China.
Yeah, probably China.
I would think so. So, did you pull out a couple of surveys?
Pen is so you can check the reaction to your pupils.
After the wine
And then you write down.
in the parking lot.
Where's the folder? Oh, here they are. Okay.
You own the book?
Make sure they are filled out totally. Larry?
You're such a stickler.
Filler's out.
No, I didn't want to be in your database.
You don't get to enter, you don't get to enter the content.
That's okay.
Okay. So that makes it easy. Okay.
That makes me
No book, no nothing. All right. Who wants to draw?
If I draw my own book.
It's okay.
Then it's fixed. Then we know it's fixed.
That's okay.
Oh, I do too. There's one. You draw one. Anyone you want? Okay.
You wouldn't draw yours.
Okay, who are the two?
I drew yours. I think I drew. You drew mine. That's why we sat next
That's
to each other.
crazy.
Karma.
So each of you get one of these, and
The cool pen.
then you each get the book.
Oh.
And you get to fight over which one, who gets which.
Well, I want this one.
Ah. Boy, you guys are easy to
Okay,
play with.
I'll give you that, another one of those.
Awesome.
Yeah, my parents had been.
All right, now everyone else, even if they didn't fill out the survey. Yes,
Oh,
yes, now this
that's
is a
the
little
cool pen.
flashlight.
No,
This
that's
is a
lipstick.
flashlight keychain.
Cool.
It's really fun. I use it to look at people's tongues and their throats in my office because it's, you know, I have a
Yeah,
bunch
nice
of
and
them.
little. Those are cool. Thank
And so,
you.
and so,
How's my tongue and throat look?
and this is the information.
Cool.
And if anyone wants to buy a book, you guys already have one.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So,
Yes.
What's the Kindle price?
the Kindle price is $3.99 or $4.99.
Oh,
That's a bargain. I'll be
I don't know, I keep changing it because you're supposed to like figure out what sells the most, and I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, so I don't really know how much they are, but there's something like that.
Right.
Did everyone get one?
So this one.
Yes, thank you.
I'm gonna put this on my keychain. So you need a key,
Me
a
too.
flashlight and a whistle.
Right, exactly.
You don't need a brighter light than that.
Well, this is a pretty, just
Okay.
so you can see stuff.
Stuff.
Well, I
Have a
have
really
those
bright
are
light.
consultation.
Somebody comes after you, you can just shine.
So,
Blind
if
them.
anyone wants to buy a book, we have both credit cards and we have cash.
Good.
And if you don't, you can get it later. And one of the reasons why I think it's important for people to read the whole book, is so I don't have to tell them all that stuff. Now we can
Less work for
we
you.
can actually start at a more advanced level. You know, I mean, it's not. low level. I mean, I try to at least write for
How's that
sixth grade, 6th or 8th grade level. You know, and here some of this a little more.
Yeah, but
advanced.
you email write this down, then you get some information too.
Yeah.
Love it already?
Yeah.
Love it?
Yeah.
Good, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
going to
information on the survey.
Thank you very much.
You better have some more food.
Thank you, Larry.
See you remember.
Yeah.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
Dr. J,
Yes.
last night on the news, they were saying they make these brand name Pepsin and different antacid
Yeah.
pills.
Yeah.
And there's research shows that a lot of people that take them on a daily basis are more prone, they tend to come down with dementia. And I thought of that when you said the
Yeah.
stomach, upset stomach, talks to the
Yeah.
brain,
Yeah.
causes deterioration
The-
of the brain.
That's exactly right.
Connected.
If you're reducing the stomach acid, what's your stomach acid for? What's it do?
Break down food.
What food?
The food just stuck in your mouth.
Well, it breaks down protein bonds. Like, anyone here do chemistry in school?
Try not to.
No. So you know, in chemistry they have these like hydrochloric acid and which is HCl, which is in your stomach, and sulfuric acid. And you have to not put it on your skin if it's too strong. It just burns through it because it eats the protein that holds your skin together, collagen and stuff like that. So in our stomach, like when we eat through our mouth, do you think there's any bacteria in the mouth?
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you have food and it's like you boil it, right? And probably you kill most stuff, not necessarily all of it, but you stick it in your mouth. I mean, there's all this stuff again. So it goes down in there, and anyone know what a petri dish is?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it?
Well, it's that little glass thing that in chemistry things grow in.
Yeah. Why?
Why?
Why does it grow?
I don't know. Usually it was a mixture of something.
Mm-hmm.
There was something interacting with something and you got to see the
That's
result.
right. And did you just leave it sitting out in the sun?
I forget.
You covered it. You cover
You
it.
cover it.
I don't remember.
Not my
Moist
strong
and
suit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what else? I mean, usually in order to grow like bacteria and stuff, right? It needs to be a dark
Oh.
and warm
Yeah.
and moist, yeah,
Yeah.
because it needs water. What's the inside of our body?
Dark and warm.
Dark, warm, and moist. And so this is the perfect environment for bacteria, viruses, and molds and stuff to grow. Well, we actually have like about 1,200 different species of these all the time in our intestine. And some of them actually make our B vitamins for us. Some of them keep other bacteria and things at bay in lower
Right.
range, right?
Those are the good, that's the
Yeah, that's the good
Good
bacteria.
bacteria.
Exactly. And so, stomach acid, part of its job is to kill everything going through it that has protein. So that includes bacteria, cell wall, it's viruses. It's there as part of our immune system. So if you deacidify the stomach, you're like destroying the first line of your immune system.
Well, is it because
And
the
so-
advertising of all these products is what makes it such a big seller, even though it hurts you rather than
Yeah, people don't realize that
yeah,
when you have acid indigestion,
yeah.
it may not be acid indigestion. It may not be too much acid, it might be too little. So if you don't have enough acid to break down the proteins, it's just going to go through as this big block. And your stomach's just going, oh my God, what is this?
You know too little too much.
Well, there's ways to test it.
Oh,
But you can also take a whole bunch of acid, like hydrochloric acid, and eat it, and then see if you feel better. There's actually empirical testing of to see if you need more acid by actually taking something from you. You take a big meal, that has a lot of protein, and then you don't take it, and you go, oh my God, this is
I
horrible.
had indigestion a lot. They said, the doctor said I had GERD.
GERD,
So that means that there's a lot of acid, there was a lot of acid.
not necessarily. Could be a misdiagnosis. That is not your doctor. Is not
if
your
your doctor talked to his
No,
doctor.
Dr. J, he gave me these Pepsids. so
Yeah,
I was taking them
and it helped.
every day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. How's your
But I
brain?
stopped taking them.
After you saw the advertisement saying.
No, way before, something just said, I don't need to take these forever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You take digestive
My husband started
enzymes.
taking them all the time.
But the opposite is digestive enzymes that help
Not
because
the opposite, but it's
Well-
you also need digestive enzymes. So we have hydrochloric acid, we have saliva. What's saliva do?
What's
Saliva
our
so you
helps
can
helps
slide
moisten foods and starts the break.
What's the breakdown? Sugar. Bingo. Very good. John, that's good. Yeah. So we start breaking down sugar in our mouth. Then we break down proteins in our stomach. And then we continue to break down other things in the small intestine. So there's fats, carbohydrates, proteins too. So a lot of enzymes, there's different enzymes for different things. So there's proteinases, which break down protein. There's lactases, which break down sugar and milk. And there's, anyway, so we need enzymes as well as hydrochloric acid, as well as saliva.
So is this a just the short story? Is this a case for or against all the commercials that we see for probiotics that we desperately need and should go buy?
This is a case for garden.
There's Tanya.
Some of them are not very strong. Some of them cannot go past the acid barrier. So you're kind of eating something and it's just getting like destroyed in the stomach. So it's really not getting down into the small intestine or the large intestine like it should.
Excuse me, what are you talking about? Probiotics? Probiotics, okay. So all of a sudden, there's a huge push
Well,
on that.
it's not a bad thing.
Oh, it isn't?
It's a great thing that people are becoming more aware of the critters inside our small intestine and large intestine because they're really important. And if they get out of balance, massive number of different problems occur. Huge numbers of problems.
So, but there is no danger in overdosing on probiotics?
It depends on the probiotic.
quality?
Unlikely, I use particular strains of probiotics that are made by particular manufacturers that have good manufacturing process. You know what's in there. There's particular strains that we know are strong, that can get past the hydrochloric acid barrier. They can go past the bile salts. Because those also have effect on the bacteria. You can kill off all the things that go in, what bile is.
Yeah.
Bile is the gallbladder, right? And bile is a bunch of broken down red blood cells, because we break them down every 120 days. And so it's red blood cells, but it's also lipases, which break down fats. And so if you have a really fatty meal, and you go, my God, it's probably your gallbladder is not necessarily working on it. It might be congested, particularly if you have this ache, and then you have this fatty meal and this ache, because the gallbladder is trying to go like that, and it can't push it out through the tube. So once the bacteria goes through here, it might get broken into probiotics. Some of them are, they aren't that strong. They aren't a therapeutic. I mean, you can take over if you're healthy.
Yeah.
Taking that's really can be good to keep it up.
Okay.
But there are people who have all kinds of problems that you actually have to rebalance particular strains in order to actually get everything working right.
Good grief.
So, but all the shelf ones have no danger, like, Activia.
It depends on the manufacturer.
Right.
Maybe they have nothing in it. Maybe it's just garbage too.
All those commercials.
And you're spending money to buy something that's not.
Right, that's why I want to know, and you're
Yeah.
saying that there is no harm in taking them.
A reputable brand.
Maybe, I don't know. It has to be reputable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you know if it's reputable? They just
Yeah,
advertise. They spend money, that's all it means.
It's
Right.
This is something that the probiotics, the acidophilus,
Yeah.
and that's a wide variety of different ones are things that I have been using in my practice for like 35 years. And even there are like brewer's yeast tablets that used to be available in pharmacies and stuff. That saved my life when I was traveling through Asia. I lived in Japan for 3 years about. And then I traveled through other parts of Asia for a couple of years. And I was getting all kinds of stuff. And that was like in the 70s. And once I discovered brewer's yeast tablets, I got this big tin of them in a pharmacy in Sri Lanka. And I carried that in my backpack. And I'd eat like 8 or 9 of those, and man, it was so good for my backside. My backside was sore. It was like always like that, you know, and it floated in.
Dude, I've never heard of that.
Brewer's
Sounds like
yeast,
that
yeah.
you make a beer with.
That's kind of old school.
It's old school. It's old school. Yeah.
Old school.
But those are also positive
Never heard of that.
critters.
Oh.
That's part of what.
So you can eat as many brewer's yeast tablets as you want?
Well, I was on a low budget travel. I wasn't eating. I doled them out to myself every day. But
I mean, how did you determine though that would help balance you? Because it sounds
I
like
know, I
you
read
were.
something and then I started trying them and it just was miraculous. All the people around me, you know, were having all these other bad diarrhea things.
Yeah, Montezuma.
Yeah. But I don't know, Montezuma's in Sri Lanka.
He traveled.
The equivalent, maybe
Intercontinental.
All right. Good question. Any other questions?
Can you start over for Tanya who just got here?
We're recording it.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It's being
You're on film.
Start all over again.
That's right.
Now it's available.
Good.
I know, I'm gonna go online, right?
Just read the information. And we can do it.
You missed a really good presentation.
Yeah, Tanya.
But it is recorded. You can go onto YouTube or
Yeah, there's a little
iTunes.
thing of all the
iTunes.
resources here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give Tanya the stuff.
You missed him and you missed his newscast.
Okay, you guys rub it in. Rub it in. Okay. I will go online. Definitely.
But there's still food is the good news.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you, Dr. Stella. Yeah.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. J. Yay!
Now, don't you want your poster?
Oh, I do want to.
So this is the part where I usually present
Flowers to our speaker. I didn't know Dr. J wanted flowers. So I don't know if you all know on Grand, there's a fabulous place called Sacred Well, a store.
No.
Wonderful store that has all kinds of crystals and all kinds of neat stuff.
Okay.
Interesting jewelry. So I think
that
Dr.
way with my
J
flashlight.
needs a visit to Sacred Well, so I'm gonna get him a gift certificate at Sacred Well.
That's so.
That's an idea.
Yeah.
Sacred Well, yeah.
Yeah.
On Grand.
On brand?
Yeah,
They
fabulous.
have great
place.
rocks,
Very cool
crystals.
place,
That
yeah.
would be awesome.
So, and please join us in March when our Fireside Chat speaker is going to be Dr. Stella. Yeah. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing you all then. Glad that we have resumed our Fireside Chat.
I know.